we're considering what are the materials in the foundation of the ideas of rock music. In the 1950s and early 60s, one of the main ingredients in the mixture of concrete on which this music was built was youth experiences, what it's like to be a teenager growing up and dealing with all those issues. The next ingredient that was added to the concrete of the foundation of rock was a conscience. Where did this social conscience come from? It came from folk music. You see, around 1960, there was a big folk music revival. All these songs that had been written in the 30s and 40s and 50s, that written by people like Pete Seeger and Woody Guthrie, they were becoming the thing to do. In fact, on college campuses, they would gather on the weekend for hootenannies, where people would sing all these songs and the big stars would come and sing. Perhaps one of the key songs of that era was "Where Have All the Flowers Gone?", a protest song against war, written by Pete Seeger. It became popularized by the Kingston Trio and by Peter, Paul, and Mary. As young people listened to those protest songs about issues of past generations, they started looking at what was happening today in their time, and they wanted to write their songs. The person who did it the best was Bob Dylan. Wow, what a poet. He even won a Nobel Prize for it, right? His 1962 song, "A Hard Rain's Gonna Fall," fit in perfectly with the angst of the time as we were afraid of that hard rain of nuclear war coming down upon us. Those kind of songs continued, but with a folk flair. Finally, in 1965, Barry McGuire sang the first entirely rock version of a protest song. It's called "The Eve of Destruction." You might remember it. It was #1 in September of 1965. We're going to listen to that song in a moment. It's an example of the songs of that time that dealt with race relations and war and materialism. There are all kinds of difficulties that we were looking at, and we were speaking out about it. One of my favorite songs of that era wasn't that big a hit, but man, I thought it really hit the heart. It was called "Give a Damn" by Spanky and Our Gang. What powerful lyrics, putting you in the shoes of a poor person so that you could understand what it was like to put your child to sleep sometime with rats instead of nursery rhymes. Wow. Rock was getting a conscience. We were all growing a social conscience at that time. But our conscience also had a sense of, at the older generation. After all, they'd been doing this to us as we were growing up. And now, as we looked at the world we'd inherited from them, we were saying, "You didn't do such a good job. We'll do better."